Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Doom Time. Today I have a member of the War Thunder dueling community, or at least that is where I have met this particular individual, and we've been on the line for quite a bit now trying to get this conversation to get started, and hopefully this is just one of the many people that I want to speak to, because Vachtar, you are literally one of the OGs in the dueling community as far as I remember. So my first question to you is just, can you give us a brief introduction to who you are and where you are right now in life?
Hello. Uh, it's difficult to say. I don't know where to start, but I think I can say that I'm from Czech Republic, and I was interested in the aircraft and in the military in overall. So I started playing War Thunder, and during playing the game, I've also joined the military to be the military pilot and study on the university.
Wow.
But uh, I figure out that the military life is not for me, so I stayed with the War Thunder.
Yeah.
uh, start the drilling. I remember, I think it was Baron who
Hmm.
got me into this, into drilling community Discord and stuff like that. So we start practicing in the custom battles and stuff like that.
So you're how old now?
25.
25. So okay, 1997?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to be turning 26 this year, same year as me. Um, that's what I find the most intriguing is how many people, within that 20 to 26 years of age were playing Warfare at that time. And in fact, your story with the army wanting to be a pilot, I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. I know quite a few that followed the sort of plan. What was it that made you change your mind, and where are you trying to direct your life now?
Uh, I studied the information technology, so
Hmm.
I'm basically programmer. And the my lifestyle was not completely compatible with the military lifestyle. So, and also I had a girlfriend, and then my priorities were somewhere else than in the military
Hmm.
at that moment. So, yeah, I was at the time I thought that it's bad idea to leave the military because I had pretty good chance to be the military pilot and fly with the Gripens when I would finish the school. But I stick what I studied,
Hmm.
and I'm doing it well. So I think my life is much better than comparable to when I would stay in the military. So yeah, I would fly with the aircraft, but yeah, you can make the pilot license and you can fly in your free time. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
So you sort of weighed out the pros and cons and figured out that it probably wasn't good in the long run.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
when did you make this decision? How recent was this?
Again?
When did this happen? The choice to leave the military, like
Uh,
1 2 years back.
mm, 3 years back.
Hmm.
Yeah. I was 21, 22, something like that. I don't remember. It's too long ago.
Yeah, life flies like that, very very quick. Um, but yeah, I asked because I was in a very similar position, obviously being in a different career and realizing that in the long run, it wasn't going to compute. Um, Maybe a bit more a private question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. But how much did the situationship with your girlfriend? I don't know if she's still your girlfriend or if she's an ex. But how much did her presence and her involvement in your life, in fact, change your decision? Like I would, because in my case, it was also I was dating a woman and sort of the idea of a life or a family sort of orientation where it's you and a partner and you have to build something, where that lifestyle that you're living might be detrimental to yourself and both actually.
The the funny part about that all is that we broke up I think 1 month or 2 months ago after I left the military. So
That is it's you know I don't like going to these topics on Doom Time because I've got a whole other plan of things to talk about, but um, that's happened to me twice, and I think it's got to do with women's sort of inherent role in trying to secure a person that knows, like, women love a guy who's confident, right? And they love a guy who knows what he's doing. They love sort of joining your life and enjoying, not necessarily the spoils, but they want to know that the path you're on, you know exactly what you're doing. It's like if I sit in your car and we're driving somewhere, I would love to know that you're perfectly aware of where you're going, right, and what the speed limits is. And I think when we go to these changes where we're like, wait a minute, I've been walking down this path for a bit, I don't think it's the right path. I have to go, trek all the way back, back to the intersection, make a switch, choose something else, and beeline it. And for a lot of women, that is, that's an escape route, or maybe a red flag on you, and it's a bit of a painful. But just I don't know if that relates to you, but that's something that I've picked up over the years as a bit of a cause.
Yeah, but as you told, like when the or how the women likes or loves the guys which
Hmm.
are very self-confident, but everything or every guy who looks self-confident or is self-confident, it's all based on the previous experience which the guy gained during his life. So
Yeah, yeah. That's why they tend to prefer older people because they've gone through more of it and sort of built a bit of that charisma and thick skin, and they're a bit more mature. Um, I'm going to jump to a completely different topic because we both just finished watching Formula One, and I think we both agree it was an extremely boring race. For those who are listening to this, this was Spain. So Max Verstappen winning out again, completely dominating, leading from lap one. Like, I don't know, I think it was like 20-second gap to Lewis Hamilton, who was second. Um, when did you start watching Formula One? And is there a relationship between the planes, the freedom of going very fast, and the idea, the concept behind Formula One?
I totally knew that we will start talking about this. But I don't think it was a boring race because I'm Mercedes fan, so
Okay.
I was very happy to see Mercedes
Mm-hmm.
getting double, and it was like, mm, or in this situation where the Mercedes is not going well with their aerodynamics and setups of the car. So yeah, I was very happy, and yeah, there was there were a lot of good fights in the Spain. But regarding these planes and formulas and fast cars,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there you can compare it, or you can compare the speed and the need of paying attention and your making your reactions faster. That's pretty the same in the War Thunder or DCS or in the Formula. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, I've got uh, into Formula. I guess it will be 3 years in some months, and it was like, I think it was during COVID because
Mm-hmm.
there was nothing to do. Like, you are in
Yeah.
quarantine, and so me and my best friend, we had nothing to do. We had totally nothing to do. So, uh, and I got the PlayStation. So we were checking the games which could play together.
Mm-hmm.
And there were F1 2019, I guess, or 2020, something like that. So and we bought it. And that's where the funny part starts, because in 1 week I've ordered the wheel, the base, the seat, and and we start practicing, and we got in our local esport. So yeah, that's how I got into the F1.
So you really just you did the thing that I did with War Thunder, which is where you give it a try and then you just yep, I'm doing this. You just buy everything you can. Um, but its formula is really one of those sports that I think a lot of people don't fully understand. They might think it's not very challenging, but you see the guys doing the practice sessions and they're when they do their neck exercises and all the G forces they have to pull, not to
Mhm.
mention the actual crashes, it does. It almost makes me feel like it would be easier to fly a plane than it is to drive a Formula One car.
I guess everything has its pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the Formula, you are still on the ground, so there are many uh, variables in the airplanes
Mm-hmm.
which you need to count, like your height and the air and everything around you. And in the Formula, you are just looking on what's in front of you and what's behind you and what's your time. So that's basically it's basically easier to drive the Formula than fly a plane. But the adrenaline and the speed, it's the same. And I think the adrenaline, there's more adrenaline in the F1 than in the airplanes or
Mm-hmm.
DCS or War Thunder or Jules in War Thunder or I don't know.
Yeah, I do think it's Formula is a lot more things are happening in a shorter period of time, right? With planes, it's. I mean, even if you look at the way we used to play air battles, right? It's boring takeoff, site climbing, and then a little bit of action, and then go back to base, and then go find the aisle 28 from helmet potato flying up there and in the universe. So there's definitely more excitement, yeah, for Formula One. Um, Speaking of duels, you obviously started playing the game. I would assume at the very beginning, maybe what 2016. No,
Mm,
actually, what am I
uh,
saying? 2016 was way later. 2012 was the release of the game, and then 2013 that it came out as alpha or beta. I don't want to miss the numbers, but
I know I've seen that. I guess on the website of War Thunder on my
hmm
profile or somewhere in the game. I don't know, but I started the game. I started playing the game in 2013.
hmm yeah, 2013 was. I think I started the same year. So obviously there was no tanks back then. We could only play. It wasn't even air battle, right? It was not realistic. It was historical battles, and that kind
Yeah.
of I think that maybe that deterred some people from playing. Would you think? Like, because it was called historical, and then people were, oh, this is going to be boring. Because coming from arcade, you'd think historical is going to be like, very strict and like a recreation of all the battles, and it kind of wasn't the case.
Yeah, I started with playing the arcade, and when I saw the other game modes, the historic, and I've tried it, and it was like, who the fuck wants to fly that long time?
Yeah.
And when you die, you can go again and fly a
hmm
long time and do nothing basically. But after I don't know 1 year, 2 years of playing the arcades, I've tried it again. I think it was already renamed to realistic at the time. And yeah, I've killed some guys. I don't say it was 5, 6 or something like that, but it was I guess 3 or 4, and I was very happy for that.
hmm
And that was the moment I started playing the realistic only.
Yeah, when you realise that getting to 5 kills on a regular basis and carrying the team is probably becoming. I think is the challenge for us. It's like because when I think about it, I did arcade until I was, so good that you really didn't have bad games, and then you move to realistic or historical, and then you do it. Then I even had a jump into. You ever fly sims? You ever go into the sim battles?
Yeah, yeah. But um, it's boring. I will say it's boring. Or in Vachtar it's boring.
Mm.
It's in my opinion, it's the way how the simulator works in War Thunder is very bad. The machines or vehicles repairs are insane, and uh, even the outcome of of the battle when you do something good in the battle is not worth it. So
Yeah, unfortunately, that's. I mean, we could say that about other aspects of the game as well. I think the rewards are a bit of a hassle. I haven't made a video on this. Obviously, you're probably more. Actually, I completely forgot a question that's the most basic question I should ask, and that is, do you still play War Thunder, and why? There should have been question number one, but playing out with different ones.
yeah, I'm still playing,
Hmm.
but not very often. Like I will play War Thunder like one to two times per month.
Hmm. So just to get a bit of that old feeling back, maybe try to rekindle the excitement.
It's maybe a matter of new added things. Like I'm going to check what's added in the latest update and
Hmm.
search it and try it, and then then I will decide that I can take 1 month break again, as I'm upset from the game. So
Yeah, because there was a lot of drama regarding, I don't actually know what, because I don't follow, but I know that Steam reviews and bombing and all these things were going on in the community. And um, how do you feel about this? Obviously, you've been playing the game for so long. It's been 10 years now since both of us started and, well, more or less quit. Do you How would you describe I spoke to Slickby about this, about the anger I think that we start to feel because you're passionate about a thing, and you're seeing the game go into a direction that perhaps you're not a big fan of, and you try to correct it, you try to change the course, and nobody listens. How did you deal with that? Did you guys go and like vent on TeamSpeak or Discord? What was the approach that you took?
uh, I knew there was a Discord. The guys who started this, or I don't know how to say, event or
Mm-hmm.
boycott or something like that, had Discord, and it all started in Reddit. So, and the Reddit community is big, like it's very big. So it uh, get into people very quickly. So
Mm-hmm.
it was like Gaijin announced the new economy changes. And in a few days, there was a community of 20,000 people review bombing the game on the Steam. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was very quick, and I totally agreed with the community because the behavior of the developers, and I don't say it was by the developers, by the
Mm-hmm.
management of Gaijin,
Yes.
is insane because the way how they were taking money from people and how the game makes you pay more and more is insane.
Mm. I think that's actually quite a good way to segue to the next bit, because I think a lot of hatred is always focused on the developer, and the developer is just. I didn't understand this before I actually had a proper job, but once I had a proper job, even though it was in a kitchen, it was the same. I realized it was the same thing where, if you're just a cook and your management tells you to do something a certain way and you do it, it doesn't make you a bad cook because of the result that comes out. It's the management's fault. And with War Thunder, I think, is the same problem where the developers are the cooks. They know how to do it, they know how to prepare the food, but they're not necessarily given the right instructions. So the result that comes out, and then the hatred that is focused on, the person that didn't really create the problem in the first place. And I think that's the loop that War Thunder is caught in. Where, they're hating the developer for just cooking up something that was told by the management that has to happen. What do you think?
Yeah, as I'm the developer too, then I know how it works when the management or there's some deadline for some task and the task needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
and the way how it will be done, you can scream about it, you can be angry, you can be upset, but you will do nothing about it as a developer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I think that most of the people realize that it's not the developer's fault, that uh, exactly in the situation where the Gaijin is, it's definitely in the management. So
I,
yeah, it's like maybe they have some economy, I don't know, problems or something like that, and need to cash grab money from players. I don't know, but that's uh, all what's happening with the War Thunder is thanks to the management and
mm-hmm.
business department of Gaijin. So
I mean, I think I heard somewhere or I read it. I don't know if it's 100% correct from my head, but was it like 80% of players don't pay for the game, something like that?
yeah. That's what Gaijin said.
They try to use that as an argument, right?
Yeah, but it's faulty argument because when you will log in into War Thunder and get into battle, you will see that almost the whole lobby is filled by with premium players. Like you will get into battle,
Yes.
example on uh, some top tier BRs, and what you will see will be a list of premium players in the battle. So yeah, but they say that 80% of players don't pay nothing. So
Now, I'm sure the statistics is correct, but that's, maybe they're taking statistics of all the players who have ever registered, how many have spent money. Obviously, most of them haven't. They'll log in, play 10 matches of arcade, and realise, this ain't for me, dog, and they're out, right? Um, I think they've always had faulty arguments, though. Most of the
yeah,
conversations I've ever had with the moderators or the management team directly, it was always very faulty. It felt like, they were telling you why something can't be done without really telling you why it can't be done. It was almost like, just move on, just change the topic. That's what it felt like. Just change the topic and let's go talk about something else that we didn't screw up, presumably.
yeah,
Obviously, you've now started taking your life in a completely different direction, and I think you're gonna, if you haven't yet, start reflecting this mostly through War Thunder 2. Because you've started taking steps away from the game, and you've obviously made changes to going from the army to focusing on being a developer yourself. How do you see yourself, like in 5-10 years time? Is there a particular vision you have that you want to go take some very clear path, or is it something that you're sort of leaving for the next couple of months or a year to clear up? Like, do you have a very specific goal in mind, or are you leaving it to chance, to faith, almost?
yes, I have I have specific goal in mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's not scheduled for months, but it's for years. Like I want to finish studying at the university,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want to go abroad and start work there. For example, USA or West Europe or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, and gain some experience, make some money, and then start IT company in my country. So that's my plan for next few years.
That's wonderful, man. I wish you all the best of luck with that. I'm sure you can manage to kill that off in even a shorter period of time.
Thank you, thank you.
I've actually completely forgotten what I was going to ask you next, but when it comes to the topic of War Thunder specifically, obviously it's a video game. For a lot of us, it wasn't just an escape. I think it was a coping mechanism. I'm sure that there were days that you had, you know, a bad day or a bad week, and the game offered you happiness, it offered you company, you met a lot of friends through it. Obviously, through the big picture, you'd say that War Thunder in your life was a positive experience, but I want to ask you about the sort of deeper part, and that would be the gaming addiction. Obviously, this is something that we don't talk about very much. Most of us, if you asked us back when we still played, we were spending, hours upon hours every week playing, every day playing. How do you view it now? Do you see it as a problem, or would you brush it off and just say it's just part of being a guy playing video games? How do you view that?
Uh, it's difficult to answer uh, because yeah, it may be a problem when you are a kid or if you have kids and they are addicted to
Mm-hmm.
playing the games. Yeah, it's maybe a problem, but the I guess, but adult persons don't have time to be addicted on video games.
Mm-hmm.
But from my experience, I guess you can see some addiction because War Thunder make me upset very often, and I guess a lot of people have the same,
Mm-hmm.
are in the same situation where they are upset, and they're still come back to play the game. So you can see some addiction, or because the game is not fun for a long time. So what
Mm-hmm.
I guess I was guessing what makes me and the other people still come back to play the game.
Partially I agree with you. Partially I think that all of us, we genuinely enjoyed spending time there. Um, perhaps there's a moment in your life too where something will click and you'll feel the way that I feel about it now. I genuinely do have a hard time. In fact, yesterday I logged into War Thunder. I don't actually know why. And I said I was going to play one match. And I think I played the F86 A5 saber, right, the first saber that was ever in the game ever.
Hmm.
And it was the most boring, 20 minutes I ever spent. Just some boring map, join in progress, random squadrons, just bombers everywhere, clusterfuck, rockets flying, shots sparking. It almost reminded me of all the things that I ever hated about the game are now present fully. And weird as this sound, and this is a question for you, but do you think it's good that War Thunder became this bad so that you have less interest in spending time on it? Does that make sense?
Uh, difficult to answer again.
I know I'm full of these types of questions because I'm pulling them from the top of my head, and I'm genuinely curious because obviously you and I have spent a lot of time in this game, and since you're not a content creator, there's this element that we can't talk about, but we can talk about, maybe the competitive aspect. And most importantly, in the process of trying to play less, quitting, trying to get people to not, get addicted to a thing, I perhaps see it as the, almost a necessary evil, that obviously is bad for Gaijin, but I would have had a harder time quitting if the game was still fun to play, right?
uh, I don't think so. I don't think that the state of the game is something that makes people less play the games, because you still can go and start another game, like you can play League of
Mm-hmm.
Legends or something like that. I think it depends on how our people set up as I don't know how to say. For example, me as a player, when I don't care about state of the game, if it's fun or if it's not fun. in my age, I'd rather go outside and stick with my friends on beer or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and have fun in real. So even if I have good times in War Thunder and have fun with the guys from Squadron and stuff like that, I still uh, quit the game and go outside. So I think it depends on people how they are set up.
Were you going out with your friends in the same quantity as you do now, or because I know a lot of guys that during the time, I'll say my personal example. When I used to still make a lot of content, I actually hated going out because I would be out with friends, but I would be thinking about playing War Thunder. I'd be thinking about making a video, thinking about recording a commentary. Were you always outgoing, or because there's this? I call it the epidemic of introvertedness, where a lot of guys will say, I'm introverted, not necessarily because they are, but because they want to have an excuse to not have to go out with friends, because that is actually going out of the comfort zone, right?
Mm. I think I was uh, going with my friends even when I started with War Thunder,
Mm-hmm.
meaning it didn't affect my, I don't know how to say, social interactions in real life. So, uh, but what's positive? I've met a lot of really good people thanks to War Thunder, and we are visiting each other. We are going to beer together, and something like something like that
Mm-hmm.
is something that makes War Thunder positive. You can, it's like how to say, social network.
So these you also hang out with the guys that play the game that you've met through the game, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
That yeah, that completely changes things. Obviously, I didn't have a lot of people here in Slovenia that were playing. Met a few, still in contact with each other maybe once or twice a year, but we live in different cities, so getting that across is a bit difficult. But that's actually wonderful. That you were able to, because I assume most of these guys you met back when TeamSpeak was still a thing, and then we moved to Discord, and um, those were really good times, I think.
yeah, the good old times.
Yes, yes, the good old times. Um, so dueling, when did you first become part of dueling? Was there a person that pulled you in, or was it? Because I don't remember how it happened. Just at some point, you're in a custom battle and you're going 1v1. You're like, wait a minute, this is actually kind of fun.
I really don't know. I even don't know how I found the tournament service website.
Hmm.
I don't remember. But uh, I know that it was me. Like that, I was trying to play the tournaments and wasn't good at it. And then I started to practice with one of my squadron mates, and we were getting better and better. And some time after that, I've met Baron, and
Hmm.
he got me into duels, and it was in these times the how to say uh, the game mode I played the most
Hmm.
were custom battles.
Was it because you didn't was it because you enjoyed dueling so much, or was it because the rest of the game was less fun?
Uh, you don't enjoy when somebody is beating your ass. So, but I knew I will get better. So yeah, and after some time, I was able to keep up with Baron and to
Mm.
kill him. And this was these were the times that I enjoyed. I started to enjoy and like the dueling. So
Mm. Yeah, it's Now that I play chess, I see a big similarity, which is that with dueling, it was this same feeling where when you finally beat somebody, it's just so rewarding. It's a good feeling knowing that you're on the right path, and then you just start to get better and better and better. And um, which plane was your favorite to duel with?
I
All
guess
the hard questions, huh?
I guess it was the MiG 15
Mm,
and the 262
interesting.
because they were jets, or they are jets. They are still in the game, so they are jets, but they are not uh, that fast that you can't do some or that you they allow you to dogfight.
Hmm.
Meaning there are planes which are very fast, and when you go under some a certain speed, you can't dogfight, you can't turn. But dogfighting with them was fun.
I agree. MiG 15, I think, was the first plane that I was able to beat Sokolik in. Um, it's ironic because I don't know who your top three choices would be, but I know that top three English speaking duelists for me were Baron, Uki, and Showtime. So Budaddy, or I used to call him Budaddy, and then the Russians, if I recall correctly, were Sokolik, Windex, and Botya.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
Right, like
And
the
then
top three
after some
for
time,
yeah.
top three for me.
No, the top three for me, as far as I remember,
Yeah,
knowing that they.
yeah, yeah. I think my choices would be the same as yours.
Hmm. I mean, there are the guys where if you get a duel with them, you're pretty much screwed. Like that you're gonna have a battle of your life, and then hopefully they have a bad first round or second round. You can get a free kill in, but they were monsters at what they did, and that's what I personally missed the most was that like all of us know who these guys are, but the community doesn't because it was
Yeah.
never there was never no ranking system. And this is what was missing for me was the ability to show to people where we really stand.
Hmm.
I ironically the reason why I think subconsciously I went for spading everything and unlocking everything rather than trying to be the best at dueling or some other part of the game was because I realized it was something I could show. Because it was actually on the profile. It was going to be maybe it was ego related. Maybe the ego boy needed, um, you know, some kind of stat card to prove his point. But would you agree that this game could have gone far further, far bigger than what it is, if they put a competitive system like that in place, where I could look you up and the stats would say, hey man, you're rank 1000 and the guy you're googling is rank 2. Like there's no way you can say you're better than him because you're way behind.
Yes, definitely. I think the proper esport, not these uh, tries,
Hmm.
or I don't know. You can't even call it esport, but proper esport, like in the League of Legends and Rocket League and in FIFA and other
Hmm.
other games which are very known, would also bring new players in the game,
Hmm.
and it would make the really good players like Baron, Botia, and other people. It would make them more famous.
Hmm. Because if you think about it, you go into a game today, you're going to see special logo for PlayStation players. You'll see a special logo for Xbox players. Special logo for I don't know Wii remote players. I don't know. They've got Android something now. Like they did everything in their power to make sure that all the people that started playing yesterday were unique and they were standing out in some way. But no one ever did anything for the veterans. I think the only thing that we ever got was those titles for like the anniversary thing, And then I know Napalm was doing the thing where he was like, he has this logged into the game consecutively for like 5 years or whatever. When I think what he would care more about is something that would genuinely make people know that he's a veteran rather than just a title that says veteran, right?
Uh,
You mentioned other games, and there's a question I ask everybody because I'm genuinely curious, and that is, what's your favorite game of all time and why? And I'd like you to answer with a single player game as well as a multiplayer game, because I think the multiplayer game I know the answer, but the single player one is always different with people. We all have very different tastes, and usually it's a game from your early childhood that stood there and has a place.
so I don't have to answer the multiplayer game, right?
Yes.
But yeah, after some time, I think my answer will differ from the one today, because it will definitely be the F1.
Mm-hmm. That's a very interesting answer. And you
Uh,
you like playing it in like time trial, or is it actually racing against the AI? Or
I'm practicing in the offline modes.
mm-hmm.
I mean, the time trial and against the AI, but it's only because it's only practice for the esport races or the local esport.
Mm-hmm.
It's like semi-pro esport.
And you play with you got the wheel, right? You mentioned that you purchased it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still the pleb having to be on a PlayStation 4 controller. That's F1 definitely a very very interesting game. I wouldn't choose it as my single player game of choice, being more of a, how do you say, MMORPG oriented person. But see, that's to each their own, is what they say. Everybody's got the little thing that interests them and pulls them in. I think F1 is a very very wonderful answer and a unique one. I don't think anybody else is going to pick it. Would you, other than obviously the people you've met through War Thunder, how have you found it influencing the other bits of your life, like your relationships, dating perhaps, even job interviews? I know it sounds a bit weird, but because I think everything we do for a long extended period of time and you become good at it, and you were one of the best in War Thunder, what did you learn from it? Like that you have realized at some point you're also using in daily life?
Hmm. I think uh, it not directly something about War Thunder, but it's the ability to uh, or when you are doing something for a long time and
Mm-hmm.
you are trying to be best at it, you will be best at it if you will do it for a certain time.
So the realization that you know you can do it regardless of what it is, like a new challenge, you know that if you put your head to it, you've done it before, you'll do it again.
Yes, yes. When when you do something, you practice it, you will be the best at it if you have the will to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That that's the something which Vertander learned me. Yeah.
Any regrets in terms of War Thunder? Anything that you did in the game that you think you wish you didn't?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I regret I even started playing it. So
uh,
because the amount of time I've spent in it is insane. So, but I don't know.
have you
I've
calculated the hours? You know how much it was?
uh, no, but I've as I remember, I have something around 80 days in Fighter alone.
Oh my god. 80 days in a fight. I have to do the quick math here because I'm genuinely curious. 80 days in a fighter alone, that would be, yeah, that's just 2,000 hours in a fighter. So, damn. And that's, disregarding the lobby times and all the time you spend chatting and thinking and,
Yeah, that's just in-game time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the same amount of hours you work in a year, if I'm not mistaken. Roughly thereabouts. I think it's something like that. If you had a full-time job, 8 hours, 5 times a week, I think that's what it comes out to. Similar.
I, I don't want to know it.
Yes, we do like to blind ourselves a little bit with that, but no, I think you give a very very good answer there. That it gives you that maybe some of the problem solving you've seen, maybe the critical thinking from playing really overcoming some of the difficulties because it's not an easy game, right? It's not a not a simple
Yeah,
cookie clicker. I'm not saying Minecraft is easy, but I think figuratively it's the sort of introductory level, right? When you start playing the game and you want to go to realistic battles, you want to start doing good, there's a huge mountain to climb, right?
yep. And you also need to account with that. When we started play the game,
Mm-hmm.
it was much easier to get into game than or if you compare it to how it's today, it's much harder to start playing the game today
Mm-hmm.
for the new players. So because there are so many new mechanics in the game,
Yeah.
so many new vehicle, and there's so many OG players which are on the low BRs that I can't imagine I would start playing the game these days.
I think it's an interesting catch-22 where the old players are running to low tiers because it's the only ones that haven't been completely ruined, and the new player is essentially forced because he's getting Seal Club to skip to the top tier, and it creates this weird gap. I was going to ask you how much. I don't think you have the number, but roughly how much money do you think you've spent on the game, assuming that you didn't play it free to play all the time, because then you wouldn't have gotten to the top, right? Because you have to grind to get somewhere. But I think the game became way harder, but at the same time more accessible when it comes to you can just buy your way into jets now, whereas beforehand you couldn't. There was this attitude like you still have to grind, you still have to actually play the game, get better, get good enough to deserve getting into those tiers.
Yeah, I would be, or my opinion is that the option to, or the ability to buy top tier jet,
Mm-hmm.
which you can basically can because there are premium jet on 7 on rank 7, and they are almost the same like the rank 8. So
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter if they say that there are no top tier jets, they are basically top tier. But the ability to buy these jets or tanks is it's bad. It's bad. My opinion is like it can be in the game. You can have the uh, rank 7 premium jet, but what I will do is that you have to have rank 6 planes in the regular tech tree,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can buy the rank 7 premium jets. That would be awesome because you uh, will have a premium plane to research the top tier planes,
Yes.
and you also have the experience to know how to play with the plane. So,
Yeah.
but money comes first. So,
Unfortunately, yeah, money comes first, and that I think might be Gaijin's biggest mistake they've ever made. You know,
mm, yeah,
I've got one final question, and that is, if you could change one thing about the game, what would it be? Other than Gaijin themselves.
I don't know.
You can answer very, very egotistically. Obviously, for me, my answer would be that I would just hit a big red button that would change the game back into 1.69, and that's it. I'll just play that for the rest of my life.
That's very good answer. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of things which need to change. But what I will do is that I would ban the the full rail controls from tournament battles
hmm
in the airplanes.
So for those who don't know this, obviously the dueling, the aspect of going one versus one with a person, a lot of duels tend to have, a classic duel. That's where, you're converting energy, and any duel video I've ever uploaded on my channel was that. But you also get the endless turn fight. I think this is what you're referring to, right?
No.
Wasn't there an issue where you'd have two dudes just circling around, but the person with full real controls would get an edge in the turn fight? Or, because I could be
Yes,
mistaken,
yes,
or is it that
uh,
is it full real controls also help with the regular dueling?
yes. It helps you everywhere.
Oh my god.
Like I was able to, because I was one of the players who hated it,
hmm
and uh, I denied to learn it. But then was the rankings challenge,
hmm
the ranked system in War Thunder with the 1v1s, Wings of Prey, and something for tanks, etc. And yeah, I've got into top 50, but the way to get into top 50 players was insane, because I've met some no-name players which I even didn't know, and they were turning very fast. Like their trajectories or uh, movement was bad, but when we got into circle, I was without chance,
hmm
because they were using the sim controls. So, and yeah, the dueling, when people from dueling community plays or are in the match against each other, it's good. But it's not good when regular player joins the tournament who don't know
hmm
about this, and he's totally without chance. So
Yeah, it gives them a very unfair advantage. But do you think some of those players might have been Smurfs, where you have a guy, create another account, like the way I had the Green Doom, and then because you also
yeah,
want to win something there?
yes, I think there's a lot of smarts in the tournaments, or in the rankings challenge,
hmm
which was a few weeks ago, but also in the game. You play squadron battles, and there are players who have 6 accounts just to gain points for the squadron to get higher in the leaderboards. So,
That's unfortunate to see that. I mean,
mm,
my approach to, if I don't want to call it cheating. In this case, it's more of an exploit, but because my approach was always ignore them. But a cheater in a regular game, I think you can still beat them. I think the reason they're cheating is because they're bad. But in this case, with dueling, it is precision, and with all the server instability, the lag, the latency, the ping, the sparks that I personally encountered, like where a person shoots you and hits you even though the bullets are nowhere close. Um, this is a prolonged problem that's been in the game for, well, literally 10 years now, and they still haven't done anything about it.
yes, and that's the reason why you can't have normal esports in War Thunder, because there's so many aspects which are, I wouldn't say unfair or something like that,
hmm
but you don't have these aspects in other games, meaning the hits. Like uh, when you hit airplane into wing or into wingtip, and in one situation the wings or the wing breaks, and in other situation it don't. So that's the aspect with the damage models that makes War Thunder unable to have esports.
It's very inconsistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they will say that's not a bug; it's a feature because it's how it works in life. But um, that's I don't know, man. It always brings me back to 1.69 with the rockets, thinking I want to know that if that rocket that I fired from a kilometer away hits in a certain spot, that it's going to be a guaranteed, kill. Because otherwise, it takes away from the accuracy. Like, I don't know how much you play tanks, but it's knowing that you've aimed at the right spot where the driver is, or the ammo rack is, or the gunner, and then it doesn't do the damage. That happens once, fine, but if it keeps repeating, you've got a very angry player that's ready to give negative reviews on Steam.
Yes. Yes. Or situation where you shoot a ammo rack and nothing happens.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you also count with the economy situation in War Thunder
Mm-hmm.
and the changes they wanted to, or they were willing to do,
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of upset players. So
Yeah. Yeah. And the community starts blowing up.
it was nice to see how the whole community or a lot of players were sticking together for some reason.
I think War Thunder players only ever stick together when it comes to hating on stuff. Reddit was very quick to come together when I said something offensive in a video. They were very, very quick to just march in unison. But I think that's a story for a different day, because we are blowing through time here. And I want to actually give you the opportunity for the end of this podcast to ask me a question. Anything whatsoever that's on your mind. Anything. Can be personal offense. I really don't care. Anything that.
I don't know. I don't know, but I think uh, maybe I will ask if. But yeah, do you regret that you almost stopped playing the War Thunder?
That almost stopped. Did I started in the first place?
I don't know if you stopped
Well, I've
at
stopped.
all, but
I have.
yeah.
Yes, I think I do log in maybe about once every 3 or 4 months, just to look at the lobby and think, oh yeah, it's still the same thing. I haven't actually played the game with the intention of playing in, I want to say, 3 years. There's always a part of me that wants to just record a video, like all times. Not so much for the people, even though I know they will enjoy it, but for myself, I do miss doing that. But my regret, I think the only regret I really have is that in high school, when I could have and should have been running around from one party to another, where I should have had more fun with women, one example, where I should have been more relaxed, that I was overthinking things, that I was always trying to focus on this YouTube as if it's some kind of career. And yet, I do live a life where I try to think of everything sort of happens with a reason. And one of the reasons is that I got to build my English. I got to meet all of you people. I get to now sit here and have a conversation and see how you've also changed and taken your direction to a different aspect. And I think that's the beauty of it. And so I think ultimately both of us are probably going to agree that there aren't really no regrets. We didn't ruin our lives playing War Thunder. If anything, we just made it more unique, more custom for us. Some people play League of Legends 24/7. Others are addicted to drugs. Third are just geeks in school focusing on their degree, and they're missing out on aspects of life too. So really my only regret is just the very, very beginnings. Just maybe having been a little bit too hard on myself and too hard on War Thunder. And that also played a detrimental role in how much drama I had, because I had to build a character. But ultimately, without the Orange Doom, without Ego Boy, I don't think I'd be sitting here comfortable, confident, and happy. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, totally. Uh, I just want to say that, yeah, maybe that you're definitely right. And what I want to say is that maybe you regret playing the game at that moment or when you stop or something
Hmm.
like that. But if you look back, you always find the positives.
Yeah, yeah. There's, I'm built as, I don't know how you are. I've speak to all my friends about this, but I don't remember the bad things. If it's a relationship that ended really badly, I'll still remember all the good bits. I'll remember all the happy memories. My childhood, I remember all the good things. I don't know if that's you know if I need a psychiatrist that's going to tell me that it's not good to put all the bad things away, but I think life is too short, too precious, too beautiful to focus on the stuff that's bad. So I'll focus on what's bad today, and I'll say it, and I'll rant about it, and I'll cry about it, and I'll get angry about it. But then tomorrow I'll forget about it. I'll just move on. And War Thunder perhaps was one of those things that I was ranting on for too long. All of us perhaps are stuck in this. And, um, at the beginning, before we even started recording this podcast, I told you the reason why I'm doing these is because it makes me happy to see people moving away from this game. Not
Hmm.
because I hate Gaijin and I'm like, I want people to stop playing your game. No, I'd be way happier if we would all still be playing the game and enjoying it, and if all content creators could make a good living out of it, and if there was eSports, but that's a utopia, and it's clearly not happening. So I think it's in our best interest that more people stop playing and start living their lives. And I'm convinced that when I speak to you again, maybe in a couple of weeks, maybe in a couple of months, maybe in a couple of years, maybe in decades, maybe when you're 70 years old on some third variant of Discord, we're going to have this conversation. You're going to be like, you know what, I'm so happy that I went for the programming thing, and my IT company is now really big. I've got 15 employees and we're all over Czech Republic. That's the sort of story that I'm trying to get hold of. As many of these moments, as many of these people like yourself that were influenced by War Thunder, by me, and then seeing where you take your life. That's what my curiosity has in store.
And that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Thank you. So I want to thank you for taking the time, for joining me. I'm 100% inviting you again. I haven't figured out the actual rate at which I will be re-inviting people, but I want these to be sort of revisited, where we can revisit some of the conversation and perhaps talk about a completely different topic. But this to me means so much to be able to have you here and chat a little bit of War Thunder, a little bit about F1. Next time maybe we're going to talk about women only. You never know, but I hope you had a good time, and I'll catch you again very shortly.
Yeah, I thank you too. It was a nice talk.
It was a pleasure, man.
And maybe hear each other in month, year, or decade, as you said.
Yeah, you never know. Life goes in different flows and different directions at different speeds for all of us, but we are certain to stay in touch.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Thank you, and good night.